Hey everyone. Um, I just kind of wanted to go over what I've just read. Another one. It's called The Silent Garden, and the scorned villainess survives in the wilderness, which I don't know why they call it that because she never actually survives in the wilderness, but whatever. Um, Both of them start out the same. Both The Silent Garden, that one really ticked me off. There's still more chapters. I got all the way to chapter 20 something, I believe. Let me see. Yeah, got all the way to chapter 26. Um, Again, uh, she's she's not a princess, but they called her a villainess because she got fooled into murdering people on behalf of her brother-in-law or something along those lines. He's somehow related to her husband Arthur. This is like the female lead is called Guinevere, and it's not like King Arthur and all that, but it all starts out the same. She married Arthur and uh, acted like a wife and a mother, um, and he leaves the entire estate to her because both him and his daughter died. Things would have been left to Sally, their daughter, if it was just him, but since both of them passed, he left everything to her. Well, the guy's name is Zero, which they changed the name to Jero or something like that along somewhere along the lines there. Um, so the story starts out is Guinevere is a princess of a fallen kingdom. She runs away to a neighboring kingdom. Uh, uh, she Her nanny takes her to a monastery, and then the nanny disappears, and she never hears from them again. At the monastery, she meets Lancelot. I don't say Lancelot because it's Lance Lot is his literal name. There's no A there, just Lancelot. So they basically grew up together. He tells her to wait for him to get back. She doesn't even know who he is, what he's doing, and why he's been gone for so long. Um, the priest at the monastery stops the letters from coming to her, destroys them anytime he sees them. Uh, and then he tells her that he can't continue to take care of her because the children and everyone at the monastery is starving to death. They're sick and they're starving. Um, so he practically sells her to Arthur to get married. And Arthur tells her because of their age difference, he cannot give her any love, but as long as she acts like a faithful wife and mother, he will make sure she lives comfortably. Well, after the death, the brother ends up holding that against her, to basically telling Guinevere, "You killed my brother," and basically manipulates her into doing all these horrible things where she eventually gets killed. Well, she ends up going back in time, and the point that it drops her at is in the point that it drops her in is right at the funeral where she's hanging over the casket. Um, Things didn't play out the exact way it did the first time around. I don't know what the hell happened because in the first chapter or the second chapter, they show that Lancelot has basically kidnapped Guinevere and locked her up and told her to never try running away again. Um, that apparently has never happened, or that's a future event. Not entirely sure which. They kind of screw up the story a little bit there. Me personally, I don't like Lancelot. There's, although he's extremely handsome, there's something I just don't like about him. Um, you've got two princes. Basically, all these really hot guys are trying to find a way to manipulate her. Zero happens to be one that thought he could do said action and turns out that he can't. Because after she goes back in time, she kind of figures out how to deal with people from Zero in the past life. So it kind of, she doesn't really have a clear goal in mind. Now, the last one I read, which is The Scorned Villainess Survives in the Wilderness. Um, this one has a saintess in it, as most of these time traveling transmigration things do. Um, the villainess was engaged to the crown prince, and the crown prince basically used her, slept with her, and used her to do all sorts of things, and then turns around and dumps her for the saintess who he's not supposed to touch. Um, you can tell kind of right from the get go that the saintess is not really a saint. Um, she's a whore, really, is the best way to put it. Um, she's more concerned about romance. So when the villainess gets this plot of land as compensation for the annulment of the engagement, she asks her father to disown her. Yes, she asked him to disown her, not he disowned her. She asked. Um, Now, in the original story, he does disown her. Um, but this time she asked to be disowned, mainly because she doesn't want her father to get caught up in all sorts of other troubles. So she gets thrown to this wilderness with a knight and someone to help her with the accounts and everything. Well, the knight says that he'll spend the rest of his life with her and blah blah blah. You know, he'll stay completely loyal to her. She thinks that he actually loves her, and then miasma and demons start to corrode the land, destroying the land and the houses and killing people. And so she has to call the Saintess, who is on vacation with the Crown Prince and several other guys. We all know what they're doing. And of course, it takes them 2 months to just finally stop their vacation and travel all the way there to that land in the middle of nowhere to go and help. They weren't really planning to help. Well, they get there. The Saintess does what she does. The knight that is with the villainess ends up falling for the Saintess. More like it's more like he's possessed or under some sort of spell. If I was in that situation, I would have been like, just leave. After when the Saintess leaves and the when land is healed and the Saintess is getting ready to leave back to the capital, fucking go. I would have been done. She, on the other hand, is struggling because she started to fall for him. Now, I understand that, but I've been hurt one too many times to try and stay with someone who has hurt me. Not only that, she has basically sworn to herself that she doesn't care about love, that she only wants to live her life for herself. Well, she ends up developing feelings for this knight, and now she's struggling. And you can, at this point, you can see it very clearly that the Saintess is not a good girl. So I ended up getting irritated and I stopped reading it after reaching that last chapter. And so I started reading this new one, which, as usual, it's called When the Villainess Loves. I just started chapter 1. I have not made it all the way through, but I already see where this story is going. She's a very pretty girl. This one is more of a transmigration than anything else. It's not a rebirth or anything. She just happens to drop into the body of the villainess. And from what I saw, this villainess is a tad bit different. Because she had no one to love her while she was growing up, no unconditional love or anything like that, she was terminally ill. People called her a villainess from a young age because of her mother, and all the evil that she did. So the villainess is kind of coping with the fact that she's going to die anyway, and she decides that she wants to die as a villainess. Since everyone's going to claim her to be one, she's going to be one. Which to me is perfectly fucking logical. People are always saying, don't let what other people say get to you. It happens whether we like it or not. It sits in the back of our heads, and every now and then it rears its ugly voice, and our self-esteem will plummet, or we act out in a certain way thinking that it's natural. I know the first time third boyfriend told me constantly that I was shady, which I hate that fucking word. It's not a goddamn word. And that I was a whore and all this other stuff. And I eventually found out that he was cheating on me with God knows who. I'm going to be perfectly honest. The chick from the pictures looked exactly like his sister. I'm not going into that. I'm not going to pay any attention to that. It's just disgusting. Anyway, I got irritated. And after I found out that he was cheating on me, I started doing what I normally do when I'm single. be nice to people. Because apparently being nice to people, saying, uh, hey, how are you? And, oh, that's cool. And just trying to have a normal conversation. Apparently to him, that was flirting. So anytime I took him anywhere, I would flirt with anybody. Um, I never actually cheated because to me, I'm still in a relationship regardless. It's not like I was having sex with him, just ew. Um, but he's a bum, lives with his grandparents and his nieces, and does nothing. Sits on his butt all day. Just sits there, smokes, and then beats the crap out of me when I come home from work. Um, so I started doing what I normally do when I was single, just be nice to people, and him automatically assuming that I'm cheating. And I had to get out of there. I had been in that relationship for 5 years and I was not putting up with it anymore. Now, your people are probably like, well, from the get go, there should have been flags. Yes, there were flags. My instincts clearly told me to stay the hell away from him, but I have this complex, um, which I have been working on. Uh, I've had two really horrible boyfriends. Um, they didn't start out as horrible relationships. They were great relationships. Then something happens, like a catalyst of some sort, and everything just blows up. Um, with the last two, my kid's dad and the jerk, my instincts told me to stay the hell away from them. But of course, when I started dating the second boyfriend, I was still a teenager, so I didn't entirely trust my instincts, which is kind of a stupid thing to do because I trusted it with everything else except for my life. Um, but the relationship was perfectly fine until I got pregnant. Anyway, the third relationship, I mean, started out fine. We had only one fight at the beginning. Um, my my friend at the time had just broken up with her boyfriend for the gazillionth time and wanted to go and get a, a tattoo on her neck. Every time her and this guy broke up, she would get a tattoo to commemorate said breakup, which I think really stupid. But hey, if you need an excuse to get a tattoo, go ahead. Um, this one, he called me while she was inside the tattoo parlor. I waited outside. This is in Asheville, North Carolina. This is downtown, a really bad area to be at night. It's okay ish during the day. Um, we were on Lexington Avenue. She was at the tattoo parlor on the corner, and I was waiting outside. My phone started ringing, so I picked it up and I was like, "What's up?" And he just started automatically accusing me of cheating. There was no, "Hey, what are you doing?" It was, uh, "You bitch," blah 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 blah, whole bunch of other crap. And the first thing that came to my head was, "Oh, someone needs to beat the crap out of him." And the second thought was, "Beep," and I hung up on him. And I walked inside and I was like, "Hey, Sammy, it's going to take them a while to draw up the tattoo, right?" And she's like, "Yeah." She was like, "About an hour or so." And I was like, "Cool. So do you think you can take me home?" And she was like, "Yeah, I can do that." Um, so I got there And the second I get out of the car, the second I get out of the car and she drives off, he is right there on the front porch screaming and yelling at me. I don't know about anybody else, but you don't do that shit in public. So I got pissed. And I just stared at him. Walked up, went up the stairs onto the porch. He started backing away immediately. I walked in, went straight to the kitchen, picked up a pan, a steel iron skillet, and cast iron skillet. There we go. English difficult. And just swiped it up and kept staring at him while he was backing off. And he got into his room and he curled up in a ball in the corner. And I just pointed the pan at him. And I was like, the next time you want to say some shit, you can wait till I get home. I was like, if you're automatically going to assume that I'm cheating on you, I will cheat on you. If you're going to assume I do it, I might as well do it. Might as well have some fun. So, anyway, from that point, he never said anything. The conversations, the time we spent together, all that was perfectly fine for about, I want to say maybe a year and a half, 2 years. I'm not entirely sure of the time frame. It's just everything's fuzzy from then. Um, so what I'm getting at is the scorned villainous was kind of like me in that situation. If you're going to say I'm going to be something, I'm going to be it. If I only have two options, being terminally ill and dying a slow, painful death, or just get it over with and go down having fun, I'm going to go down having fun. I don't know about anybody else, but you say something to a person enough times during adolescence or anything like that, or you're in a really toxic relationship that you can't get out of, and they keep saying that you're doing something, you're eventually going to believe that you're actually doing it. Someone beats the crap out of you and tells you that you're wrong or what you did was wrong. You're going to think it's your fault. You are going to think that you're in the wrong. You're not. As a very famous person has once said, let them fuck up. It's their responsibility to live with that. It is their responsibility not to hurt you. They did anyway. Let them. It's going to hurt like hell. It is going to nearly destroy you. You are going to fall apart. But the one thing that should be left in your mind is none of that was your fault. I have finally gotten to the point where I know none of it was my fault, but it still hurts because I actually thought this was a great relationship at first. And the only reason I had to stick with it for so long, for 5 years, was because I had a job for 4 years that I did not want to lose. I liked my job. As much as that job caused me stress, I loved it. I was stuck in a laundry room all day, washing and drying clothes, the dryer catching on fire every now and then, the washers flooding every now and then, um, folding clothes, taking them down to the linen closet, and then coming back up. doing the same thing over again. I loved that job. But of course, there's toxic people everywhere. My boss happened to be one of them. Actually, both my bosses happened to be them. My boyfriend was one, my boyfriend's sister was one, and the grandparents and the aunt. Um, my first boss didn't want to do her job. She did not train me at all. The first day I got there, she said, "This is what you need to do." She told me what I'm supposed to do and then said she was off on a date. She was dating her boss. Not supposed to. So she ends up getting transferred out and going somewhere else. Of course, everyone blamed that on me. I didn't do anything. I never reported her. My second boss, um, who came in, decided he wanted to blame me for everyone else not doing their jobs. Now, when it comes to doing personal clothes, people's everyday clothes, I hate. I hate doing them. Mainly because the name tags never stay on those clothes when you wash them. So the names will wash off, or the labels will get ruined, or they're faded so horribly that you just can't see it anymore. We had people writing it on the fabric itself. There was never a good place to put the names. Um, so I absolutely hated doing personals. I would occasionally do them when I had nothing else to do, and I would hang them up and leave them for someone else to take out because first shift is supposed to take them out. I'm not going to take them out. I work dead last. That's not my concern. I go in at like 4 or 5, at the very earliest 3, and I stay till 10. I'm not doing personals while those people are sleeping. I will occasionally, if someone asks me for something specific, like one of the residents come down to the laundry room, knock on the door, and ask me if I've seen their whatever, um, like a flower blouse or something like that. They'll tell me their room, their name, and their room number, and I will go and look for it. If I happen to see it at the top or somewhere in the top of the barrels on the specific haul, I will tell them that I'll wash it and I'll get it to them as soon as possible. Now, there are people on the hall that I worked on, some of the residents on the hall that I worked on, there's only like 2 or 3 at most. If they're in their rooms, I will knock on their door and ask them if they want me to bring their clothes. Sometimes they don't want the interruption and they'll just be like, no, save it for later. And I'm like, okay. And I'll just go about doing my own thing. Um, but anyway, I was always told that, you know, I was never doing my job. And he told me that so many times. He's called me in the middle of the night to scream at the top of his lungs at me for not doing my job. That every time I went into work, I would clock in, not do my job. I would literally clock in, go back outside, and sit with my drink and my cigarettes and just play on my phone. Then he got super pissed, told me I was fired, and I said, fine. And I ended up going home. I called Tony to come and pick me up, take me back home. And she was called into work. The next fucking day, this stupid bastard called me and asked me to come in. Like, no, you fired me. I'm not doing that. And it got to the point to where he started having to bribe me to come into work every time he fired me. And I mean every time he fired me. He fired me, I quit. He fired me, I quit. This kept going back and forth. Um, I've never been fired. Every time he fired me, the paperwork he, I guess, would never do or whatever. And then he would call me in and I would just go back to doing what I normally did. Um, there was an incident on the fourth year that I was working there that made me quit, and that was it. Um, I don't know what was going on. The nursing home was busier than usual, uh, crowded. There was lots of people roaming around. It wasn't natural. Every time I come in, the place is always quiet. There's very few people moving around. There's maybe a couple of residents going back and forth from the dining room to their rooms, um, and a couple of CNAs or RNs checking in on a few of the residents. This particular day, it was oddly crowded, I guess is the best way to put it. And I'd just gotten into work. I went into the laundry room, put on my scrub top, checked the time. It was time for me to clock in, so I went out, clocked in, and I headed down the hall to check the linen closet to see what was absolutely necessary. Um, it is always the first thing I do when I get to work is go and check the linen closet. On the way back, if I see someone I know, I'm like, hey, how are you? And they'll tell me about their day, and I'm like, well, I hope you have a great rest of the day. And then I'll continue on my way. And of course, if I see someone, I say hi and continue. Well, this particular day, I got down to the linen closet and it was pretty stocked up, which was highly unusual. It was not normal for it to be completely full. They're usually running low on towels or pads or something. Um, when I went down there to check it this particular day, the closet was completely full. Um, and I started getting an anxiety attack because I was like, oh God, oh, that's something highly unusual. That's never happened before. And I was in full on, oh my God mode. And so I came off of C Hall and started going back up B Hall, back to the laundry room. And just as I get out of C Hall, the nurses behind the counter and a couple of the CNAs were telling me that I need to go and put scrub pants on and blah, blah, blah. Like, I've been wearing a scrub top and jeans for the last 4 years. Now they want to say something? Like, what the hell is going on that you guys are pissing me off to this point? And I told them there's a specific reason I don't wear scrub bottoms. One, they're way too thin. Two, I sweat right through them. I'm not walking around like I pissed myself all day. I'm a fluffy girl. Okay, walking around in little scrub bottoms is not okay. I would be going through those things like candy. and having to buy a new pair, and then I would never have any money. I'm not doing that. So I wore jeans to work every fucking day. Really dark jeans, they almost looked black. Sometimes I would wear black jeans. Um, I tried to find a compromising point. No one's ever said anything to me. It was mentioned once when I first started working there that you've got to wear black pants or something of the sort. Um, I tried pajama pants, uh, black ones, black yoga pants, and stuff like that, to not wear scrub pants, but none of them worked the right way because it's way too hot in the laundry room and then way too cold outside. Jeans kind of had this breathable thing to them, but warm all at the same time. They were perfect for me. I stuck with jeans. So for 3.5, 4 years, I've been wearing jeans every day to work. Um, and so this particular day, everyone was on my butt, and I got so irritated that while they were sitting there yelling at me, I unscrewed my work keys off of my keychain. And I was like, fuck off. And then I walked back down the hall, went into the laundry room, grabbed my stuff, walked into my boss's office, threw the keys on his desk, and said, hire somebody else. And I walked out. I got halfway down the hill when Tony pulled up and asked me what the hell happened, and I said, I'm done. She didn't ask anything more. She didn't say anything more. I'm guessing from the look on my face, she was like, okay. She was just going to leave that be. Um, my point is that when someone tells you something over a long period of time, you're not doing your job, you're not doing good enough at your job, you're not working fast enough, you're not doing this, you're not doing that, or you um, you don't communicate enough, you're not doing this, uh, you're not worth my time, you're not worth my attention, stuff like this. You're not worth what I pay you. You eventually start feeling like you're not worth it. I got to the point to where I felt like anything I did, I was only going to get yelled at for. If I did dishes, I would get yelled at for it. If I did laundry, I would get yelled at for it. If I went to the bathroom, I would get yelled at for it. If I laid down and did nothing, I'd get yelled at for it. If I got up and got another job, I would get yelled at for it. Um, it got to a point to where the voice in my head was just like, you're not worth it. Why try doing anything? And then I would get a little motivation, like on my Leo days, is what I like to call them, are the days where I think I'm really pretty and I'll put on makeup and do my hair and put on pretty clothes. And then 2 seconds later, that voice is, you look disgusting. And then I'll remove it all and I'll lay in bed and just be depressed all day. Um, I've slowly started to come out of that, working on it on my own, uh, finding one thing I liked about myself. Everyone used to tell me that they hated brown eyes because that means they're full of shit. And the first thing that came to my mind was, well, and the first thing that came out of my mouth was, they're red in the sunlight. What about yours? Um, when the sun hits brown or hazel eyes the right way, they look red. they're stunning. They're just gorgeous. And no one's eyes are completely brown. Anytime someone says their eyes are plain brown, I would look at them. They're not plain brown. There's always green in there. There's what looks to be gold in there. They're stunning. So I got to the point where I actually liked my own eyes. I decided I was going to find something I liked about myself. That happens to be my eyes. Um, I have full confidence in how pretty my eyes are now. I'm also now in the phase where I'm like, I love my hair. I love my hair. Um, Not right now, it's dirty, but I love my hair. Uh, it doesn't tangle, even when dirty. It just doesn't tangle. I don't know what it is I do with my hair, but no matter what I do with it, unless I try curling it, it never tangles. Um, I can straighten it, leave it as is, never tangles. I don't know what I do to my hair that makes it do that. It just doesn't tangle. It won't have it. It's extremely thick, um, and I have a lot of hair. I've always wanted to grow it and have really long hair, but the maintenance for really long hair is a pain in the butt as is. So the length of my hair now is probably about here, and it's kind of getting annoying now, but I love my hair. I don't care that it's brown or really dark brown. Uh, I usually put black or red over it anyway, every now and then, just cause. Um, I have bleached it a few times and did blue and have done blue hair and rainbow hair and all sorts of other stuff. I think it looked really great with blue hair. I've always wanted to try green hair, but I'm not sure how that would look on me, so I kind of just left it be. But when someone tells you you're not pretty or um, you're a waste of space, you hear it enough, you're going to start believing it. You won't outwardly show it. That's not how it works. You Granted, there are rare occasions where people actually show it outwardly. Um, Most people, especially people like me, tend to hold that in, and it pops up at the worst possible moments, especially when you start feeling good about yourself. It pops up into your head, and all of a sudden you're in this downward spiral and you can't claw your way out of it. Uh, I've been in a downward spiral for God knows how long, and I'm finally managing to find some level ground. My main problem is getting used to that ground. Um, Getting used to having support around me and a calm environment where no one's trying to kill me or beat the crap out of me. It is very it is very difficult to get used to a an environment that is actually healthy. It's it's panic inducing basically trying to cope with that type of situation. But anyway, what I wanted to get into was the fact that this villainess decided this is how she was going to die. She would rather die as the villainess who got cheated on than die from an incurable illness. Um, she decided to live as everyone said she was going to live. She gets taken back in time and decides that she's going to live. Well, she dies, and of course, our new character gets thrown into her body and decides that she's going to live how she wants to live. Of course, she still has to keep in mind the story. That way, if a major event happens or a main character shows up, she knows how to work through this stuff. But one thing that got me about the description of this story. Why are you being such a pain in the ass right now? There. One thing that got me about this story was, let me see if I can find it. Uh, Villainous Loves, where is it? There it is. The description of this particular manga was hilarious. Um, it says, "It's okay though, we can cure this. I've transmigrated into the body of a princess living on borrowed time. It's okay though, we can cure this illness. Um, my goal is to lead a life where I can do whatever I want. First, I decided to rave over all of my favorite characters in the novel. But because I'm a villainess, people around me tend to be wary. You will soon die, and yet, how can you laugh like that? Well, it's because I'm super hot." That is the description of this manga. Okay. I have to say, I'm absolutely in love with it. Just, she's just like, because I'm hot. And all I keep thinking is, oh my god, you are so hot. Why the hell they make the heroine uglier than the villainess makes no sense to me. And when they do make the heroine, the female lead, prettier than the villainess, she's fucked up. Either she's really stupid or she's actually a very bad person or just underdeveloped. Um, but all these stories work out the same when they're about villainesses or transmigrators and stuff like that. The good guys throw the first punch. The prince cheats on his fiance and then blames her and kills her for it. She didn't do anything. She got cheated on. All she wanted was a little justice. Now, granted, most of these people take it out on the female. I wouldn't do that. I would take it out on the man. Some of them, I've read about two of them that actually take it out on the person who committed the crime. But of course, as usual, the villainess always gets killed. Why do they always call them a villainess when they're not actually villains? All they're trying to do is right a wrong. What is so wrong about that? What is so wrong about a girl sticking up for herself? Or a guy for that matter. It's always the good guys throwing the first blow. Oh, but she's so sweet and innocent. You're the one that's in the wrong here. How is she in the wrong? You cheated on her. You're the one that can't keep your legs closed. These stories drive me completely nuts when they do this. But anyway, I've talked your ear off long enough, and I've got to go and wait for my mom to get home because I got to run to the store and get some stuff. I'm completely obsessed with these sausages at this point. These Link sausages, they're just so freaking good. Um, so I'm gonna have dinner again. Why does my mouse keep doing that? fucking new and it's already got issues. There we go. So I hope you guys have a beautiful morning, evening, afternoon, night, whatever time of the day it is for you. And I will get on here and rave some other time. Um, if you've read any stories that are like these or have the same type of concept, let me know what you think of them, because sometimes my brain sees it a certain way and other people see it a different way. Um, of course, I understand that actions speak louder than words when it comes to these stories, but at the same time, I still don't think of them as villains. Um, but yeah, let me know, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.